Hey, Orange Theory Nation, Head Coach Nicole here at Orange Theory Fitness Barrie. Today is Valentine's Day and February is Heart Month. We are also on halfway through the second week of our Transformation Challenge. So, in light of all of those things, I wanted to share a little story with you that related to heart health and why it's important to take care of your heart. I'm going to get a little personal with you guys. So I know some of you have heard this story before, but many of you haven't. So I just want to share a little bit with you about one of the reasons, anyways, why I'm so passionate about heart health. So last year in March, my dad turned 60. And then in May, he retired from just about 40 years of shift work. So as a retirement gift to himself, he bought himself a brand new road bike. He's a long time and very avid cyclist. So he bought himself this fancy Cervelo racing bike. Went out on a ride a couple weeks later with my mom, and on the way home, he started to feel a strange kind of burning sensation in his lungs, which he thought was just because of a really hard ride that he did the day before. So he didn't think much of it, but my mom thought it was probably best that he just kind of hang out on the side of the road, just relax. And she went home to get the car and come back and get him. So he tried to get back on his bike a couple times, but the burning kept coming back and it kept getting worse. So he eventually leaned his bike up against the fence and ended up kind of doubled over on the side of the road, watching his heart rate monitor and watching his heart rate steadily increase until he collapsed on the side of this little back road just on the outskirts of Belleville and Trenton. Luckily, right before my dad collapsed, a woman drove by who was on her way home from work. She lived in the area. That's the only reason she was on this little back road. And she thought there was something strange about where my dad had stopped because it was kind of heading down the other side of a hill, and she just thought it looked off. So she turned around and went back. And by the time she got back, my dad was down, face down in the dirt. So she immediately started calling for help. She started CPR. A volunteer firefighter just happened to be in the area. So he came over, he heard her calling, he came over and helped. Another gentleman, I think, came over and helped as well. So there's now 3 people with my dad on the side of the road, which caught the attention of a Hydro One worker who was driving by in his work vehicle. So he luckily had an AED in his work vehicle. So he grabbed that, rushed over, and that saved my dad's life. And just a little side note, after that incident, Hydro One kind of went public with it, and they are fighting to get defibrillators, to get AEDs in all of their work vehicles, in all of their fleets, which is really amazing because they really do save lives. So by the time my mom got back to my dad, fire truck, ambulance, everybody was there. They rushed him straight to Kingston Hospital, where he was there for, I think, just under a week, and he ended up getting 2 stents put in. So it's a pretty amazing story. I mean, I get choked up and I get goosebumps every time I tell it, but there's a little bit more to it. There's a little bit of a backstory that I feel is important. So I come from a pretty active, very active family, very health-conscious family. And one of the reasons why my dad cycles and why he does things like wears a heart rate monitor, tracks his heart rate, tracks his caloric intake and expenditure on pretty much a daily basis, is because almost every male in his family has died from heart disease or related complications. So my dad was determined, to break that cycle and to not be another one of those statistics. So if you think about all the things that my dad was doing right, you kind of have to ask, how did this happen? But the doctor who cared for my dad explained that genes play a much bigger role. Your genetics play a much bigger role in your risk for things like heart disease and heart attacks than what we normally think. So even though my dad was doing all the right things, or most of the right things anyways, he was and will always be at risk. So then, you start to wonder, why bother? What's the point? Why not just enjoy your life, do what you want to do, eat what you want to eat, if the risk is there anyways? Well, the doctor also said that if it wasn't for my dad's healthy, active lifestyle, he probably would have had his heart attack at 40 years old, or maybe 50 years old, and most likely would not have survived. And if he did, his recovery time would have been much longer, and he probably would have required a lot more severe procedure than just a stent, and a lot more medication, and it would have been a much less pleasant experience, regardless. So it's now 8 months later, and my dad looks and feels fantastic. He's still cycling, still exercising. He does have to monitor his heart rate and keep it, under wraps. He can't go sky high with it, just as a precaution, because that risk is still there. But he's also taken some further efforts to improve his nutrition. So he's reduced his sodium intake, sugar intake, trying to limit processed foods as much as he can, eating more vegetables, things like that. They're starting to cut out meat out of their diet a little bit more. And he's taken on some handyman work, just as a means to try and stay active and productive and keep himself busy, which is awesome. And next month, in March, will be his 61st birthday, which he almost didn't see. So very, very cool. So the reason for me telling you this story is not just, to make you cry or make myself cry. There's a couple really, really good reasons why I wanted to share this with you. And the most obvious one is to take care of yourself. You need to take responsibility for your own health. Your heart, your body is the only one you're going to get. So, do what you can so that you can have the longest, happiest, fullest life that you possibly can for yourself and for the people you love and for the people who love you. The second reason is to take a CPR and AED course and renew it annually. You never know when that might be you. It might be you driving by at, in the right place at the right time, and making the difference between life or death for someone. And better yet, go buy yourself an AED. You can buy them at Costco. If you're able to, get one. Keep it in your car. Keep it in your home. 88% of heart attacks actually happen in the home. So if you're able to do that, go get yourself one. The next reason is to educate yourself. You can talk to your doctor, nurse practitioner, naturopath, nutritionist, pharmacist, the consultant at your health food store, anyone. Just talk to somebody and learn about the health risks, learn about what risks you have, the ones that you can change, the ones you can't change, so that you can find ways to reduce that risk as much as possible. Knowledge is power, guys, and I'm sharing my story with you in hopes that you can learn as much as you can, and hopefully you'll never have to tell a story like this. And lastly, I want to really drive home the fact that nothing is given. Don't take your health for granted. Nothing is for certain. So enjoy every moment of every day. And more than that, make sure that you're doing everything you can to get as many moments and as many days as you can. And that you have the ability, the energy, mobility, strength, stamina to enjoy those days to their fullest. So with that, sorry if I made you cry, but this is something that really hits home with me, and it's super important. So take this information, share it, educate yourself, take care of your heart, take care of your body. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Bye.